I'm Ed Andrew, and I just want to share with you a few things which have come up with my coaching clients as they look to prioritize their life over work as opposed to work over life, how they've got themselves into that problem and why that is, and then of course how to get out of that. But first of all, on the left here we have the old paradigm, the old way of thinking, which is work is everything and life is purely a little subset of that. So work being your career, could just be a job, business, if you're an entrepreneur, maybe a startup, or a mission to go and do something else, okay? And a subset of that is life, which is family, relationships, your wellness, health, interests, hobbies, maybe travel, learning new experiences. But that's always been a subset of this wider picture where we put work first, where we prioritize our work over life. Now here on the left hand, on the right hand side, this effectively is the new paradigm. This is where you prioritize your life over your work. Something we should have been doing, to be honest, forever, though for many reasons it hasn't worked out very well like that. So when we're prioritizing our life over our work, it doesn't mean work's not important. It's just that our priorities are relationships, family, friends, health and wellness. That's wellness in the sense of your emotional and spiritual wellness. Interests, hobbies, travel. It could also mean within your community, potentially also things like volunteering. So here what we're doing is we're prioritizing all of the things which exist outside of work, and work is just a part of life. Now, let's have a look at something which is quite interesting. Look at a working week, okay? I know things are a little bit different at the moment and everyone's working maybe from home, or some of you are not working at all, but let's look at a general working week, okay? So, there are 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, there are 168 hours in a week, of which, say, on average, 40 hours are spent working. Of course, it may be a little bit more for you, maybe a little bit less. That leaves 128 hours in the week, okay? Now, if you have to commute in the days when people were commuting, and maybe some of you still are, say we take an average a 1 hour commute every day. Okay, so that's 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, there and back, that's 10 hours. So that leaves us with 118 hours in the week. We've got to sleep. Say on average you get 8 hours sleep a night. That's another 56 hours. So what we've got to is we have 62 hours in our week, in a 7-day week, when we are awake and conscious and we're not at work. So that means that 50% more of our time is spent outside of work, traditionally, than in work. So why do we put so much importance on the work itself? I'm going to come on that in a minute. When ultimately, we spend less time at work than we do with our family and our friends, if that's where our priority is. So what happens is when we start prioritizing our work first, what are our values? Our values are around our work. Our priority is the values we associate with work. Now, many people find guilt and shame for not working because they feel that they must work, they must contribute in some way, and that can be going back to families, particularly coming from low-income families or low-income backgrounds, particularly immigrants as well, where the association with work is really important, and that is filtered through. So many people I work with will see in their families extremely hardworking parents. Maybe they're working 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table. And here we have the next generation, degree educated, highly intelligent, they're going off to do what they want in the world, but they have this association which they witness from their parents, which is work, 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 work. There's no love in the house. Yeah, there's food on the table, there's a roof over the head, but there's no emotion. It's purely work. And they bring this association of what they've witnessed as a child from their parents into their association with work. So when they're not working, particularly maybe now, there's a huge amount of guilt and shame associated with not working. Or even of having the thought as to, well, maybe I should start prioritizing my life, not my work, because maybe my relationships, my family, my friends, my health, my interests and my hobbies, maybe they're all taking a backseat. Maybe I become sick. But there's so much guilt and shame associated with even having that thought because of the background they've come from. Parental pressure, whatever else it may be. So let's have a look at this a little bit more for a second. So it's our association to work, which is why we've created this conundrum of work is more important than life. And why have we done that? Because what is the most important thing that work provides for most people? I'm not talking if you're already passionate and purposeful in your work, you've got meaningful work, fantastic, that's brilliant, okay? For those of you who don't and maybe seeking for that, what's the one thing that work provides? It provides, what's the one value it provides? It provides money, doesn't it? Dollars, money, whatever currency it is. And how do we earn money? Traditionally, how are we respected and valued for earning money? By using this, by using our logic brain, by thinking. So our value is associated to how much money we earn to pay for things, whether it's a house, a car, food, whatever, holidays, whatever it wants to be, but the value base is around money. And how do we do that? By using our brain. So effectively, we've associated everything to do with our life only about work and only about this, which is our logical, analytical brain, okay? And we've invested all of the time and energy into work because that is what has become more important or most important to us and most valuable to us because we associate value with financial gain. All very well. Wealth is fantastic. It allows you all sorts of freedoms. But if that's our only association, we begin to cause trouble. And then have a look at something else as well. What do you think happens? Now, I'm sure many of you, it doesn't really matter what field you're in, whether you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, whether you're a CEO, whether you're middle management, senior management, corporate professional, it doesn't really matter where you're at. I'm sure that at some stage, pretty much all of you, or certainly most of you, will have done some sort of professional development. So you've got to go and learn something else, right? In order to expand your horizons, your knowledge base, maybe to get another career, another bonus, maybe promotion, right? You've got to do professional development. And what do we do when we do professional development? We're sitting there in a room or in front of our laptop or computer and we're listening to someone talking to us. We're processing information analytically, right? We're processing it logically. And then what happens is perhaps you begin to think, okay, so now I would really be interested in prioritizing some of these other things in life. Maybe I haven't given enough attention to my relationships, my intimate relationships, maybe my family, maybe my relationships, my friends aren't as good as they used to be. Maybe I've lost a few friends in the process. Maybe my health isn't so good. Maybe I'd like to tap more into my emotional and spiritual well-being. Maybe I want to start pursuing some interests and hobbies. Maybe I want to get more passion and purpose into my life. So here we are. You're still over here, don't forget. You're still using your logical, analytical mind to do everything. And so guess what? You start investing in personal development. Now, one of my clients spent $500,000 on personal development before coming to work with me without getting any real results. And that's because he was applying his logical, analytical mind to his personal development because that's the only way he knew how to do it. Okay. Whereas what happens in this sphere of the world, where life is prioritized, where work is a subset of life, yes, it can be very important. As an entrepreneur, work is important to me, but my life is what I'm prioritizing, not my work. Okay? There are certain days and certain hours when that's where my entire focus is, but my entire focus on my life is not here. So what happens when we're in this space, when this new paradigm where we prioritize life? Think about all of these things, or maybe feel about these things. Relationships, families, friends, health, wellness, interests, hobbies. Are we thinking about all those at the time? Are we processing that analytically, logically? Or are we beginning to tap into our emotions? Maybe our spirituality, whatever that means for you. Maybe that's about feelings. Maybe that's more about heart-based, our emotions. And what does that lead to? Intuition. Solving problems that our mental, logical, analytical mind cannot do. But we haven't given that any priority in life because it's over here, or it's this little subset. So when we're doing personal development, guess what's happening? We're still processing it analytically. We're not looking for the feeling, the emotion of what we're learning. then we can't tap into our intuition. And the reality of why people haven't learned this is because emotions, spirit, feelings, your heart center, okay, have never been valued financially, have they? So those feelings, emotions are not valued financially, has no value. And that's the biggest myth of all. If it's got no value, then if we look over here at the values you've learned from work, then obviously it's worthless. So we don't invest in it. But imagine if you invested your time and energy into all of this, which allowed you to breathe, to actually be a human being. Human beings about all of us. It's not just about this part of our brain. And then what we get to is when you start looking at your life like this, we get into something called alignment, where our mind and our heart are aligned and where we can begin to thrive again. So please, spend a few minutes just thinking about that. Where am I in life? Am I over here? Am I trying to get into prioritizing my life? Understanding that these are normal problems for everyone who has been through this cycle before. Trying to break the cycle of this logical, analytical mind that keeps tripping us up when we want to explore this personal development journey. It's normal. It's a process which is based on probably 200 years of tradition. So you can change and you can create that. But in order to tap into this intuition, solving the red flags, managing your relationships, we've got to start prioritizing life over work and knowing how we tap into these emotions, these feelings, how we begin to feel to solve problems. Because you see, the greatest leaders spend less time thinking to solve problems and more time feeling to solve problems. So I hope that's helpful to you. Thank you very much. As usual, you can always find me at edandrew.com. I wish you a beautiful day. See you soon. Bye.